welcome to the BIS6113 Team Papa Security Review. Team members Stephen Milloway, Lynn Thompson, Anna White, and Michael Phillips. Let's begin our security review by first doing an overview of the company. The company is an electric power utility providing managed and unmanaged dark fiber network services to 12 counties across 2 southeastern states. It's a member-owned private nonprofit with 99 employees. They deliver power to 39,000 members over 3,500 miles of medium voltage distribution lines. They also own and maintain 350 miles of fiber optic cable and have revenues in excess of $87 million annually. Their fiber optic network, which supports long-distance telecommunications and high-speed data transfer, is a potential vulnerability. Attackers have in the past targeted fiber optic networks. For instance, in 2015 in California, buried fiber optic cables were found to have been slashed. The U.S. energy sector is disproportionately targeted by hackers. According to the Department of Homeland Security, 53% of attacks were against the energy sector. In addition to man-made attacks, utilities often have to deal with natural disaster. In this area where the company operates, they are prone to tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and are even at risk for the occasional earthquake. Let's now do a high-level security overview of the company's security situation. The company's power distribution network, while not fully automated, is consolidated into a smart grid. Remote supervision and control substation equipment is provided by a supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA system. SCADA systems tie together decentralized facilities, such as their power distribution systems, and is designed to be open, robust, easily operated and repaired, but does not necessarily provide the highest level of security. The company mans the office housing the SCADA client 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with security personnel. The control client is isolated from the internet and requires a username and password to log on. In terms of the IT LAN network provided by the company, they have a fiber optic LAN connecting all offices and use wireless access points and Bluetooth peripherals inside the offices themselves. Their general IT infrastructure is not separated from their critical infrastructure, but none of their monitoring equipment is connected to the internet. Only systems administrators may install patches, updates, or upgrades to their systems. The company's security program is headed by a designated security officer and provides security training to employees. The company does not run drills or actively prepare for security breaches and fails to provide cybersecurity training for new hires. That training is only provided as needed. In terms of HR, the company outsources its human resources functions to a third party, and this transfers liability for the employee's personally identifiable information, compensation, and work history data to the third party. Let's now focus on the policies and procedures put in place by the security officer. The general access computer policy in place states that employees should expect no privacy when working on company computers. Employees are restricted users and are granted access based on the principle of least privilege. Their managers must request access for them, and the technical service department must review the request before granting the access. The company also has an audit log policy, but does not have a formal audit program in place. Additional security personnel policies include IT response to employee termination that prohibits disclosure of sensitive information to those outside the company. However, their use of non-disclosure agreements is only required for personnel filling certain positions. In terms of use of peripherals, such as Blackberries and laptops, they are authorized and key personnel are allowed to take them off premise. And the company does not have an inventory control program in place. Connecting personal devices to the work network is not allowed. The company does not have a severe weather policy. What they have is covered under their disaster recovery plan should a storm, tornado, earthquake disrupt their ability to provide service. They base their target to resolve an outage based on the standard normalized national average. And they maintain that they can be below that for most outages and provide that level of service to their customers. Let's now focus on access control, whose mission is to protect the CIA triad of objects, preventing attacks such as brute force, denial of service, social engineering, and tampering with their key assets. The company uses the following preventative measures to prevent such attacks. They use locks, tamper-proof devices, firewalls, and antivirus software. Hopefully these measures are designed to protect the confidentiality of their data so that attackers cannot gain access to either the physical location or to their company's data. In terms of detection of attacks, the company uses security guards, regularly supervises their users, and deploys an intrusion detection system. These methods are meant to detect and thwart attacks before they can achieve their goal. If, however, an attack was successful, corrective action would be needed. For this, the company relies upon their disaster recovery and business continuity plans, as well as their antivirus solutions that they regularly update. They also regularly perform backups of all critical systems, so that should they become compromised, they can be restored. Additionally, the company uses their security policies and training and awareness to help employees know actions that they can take to limit the company's liability and exposure to attacks. Having discussed access controls implemented by the company generally, we now turn our focus to how they fit in with the CIA triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. With respect to confidentiality, or keeping private data private, the company uses type 1 authentication, or what do you know, meaning passwords. The company does fail to implement a strong, secure password policy and does not use biometric authorization. This review would recommend the company create a password policy that required both strong passwords and regular password rotation. The company does deploy Microsoft Active Directory to manage their user accounts so that no unauthorized accounts will be created. In terms of maintaining the integrity of the data, the correctness, the company implements security personnel at the control client center to protect the data from any unauthorized updates or deletes. They isolate their control center from the internet to preclude that avenue of attack. They deploy their antivirus softwares, and they also have tamper detection, tamper-proof, and locks used at their power meters, substations, and control centers. However, while they do have logs, they do not actively monitor or review them. This security review would recommend that they schedule a regular time to review those logs. In terms of maintaining availability, we would go back to those tamper-proof locks on the substations, meters, and control center as a way to discourage an attack from taking place and thus prevent an outage. You also have their stated goal of maintaining outages related to weather events be resolved in a time below the normalized average in the nation. To do this, they rely heavily on their disaster recovery plan to get operations back up as quickly as possible. This review now turns to focus on risk assessment. The company does an annual risk assessment, and out of that review, they have listed several things as accepted risk or mitigated risk. Among things they have as accepted risk is their USB and take-home device protocols. They do not enforce any encryption on USBs, and they also allow certain personnel to take home devices as needed. This is a confidentiality risk, as any of those devices were stolen, they would be at risk exposing private data. Another risk that they've accepted is the use of remote desktop protocols. Remote desktop protocols are not 100% safe and do have some vulnerabilities that would expose avenues for attackers to compromise the confidentiality of the customer's data. The final accepted risk is their passwords. They have failed to put in place a strong password policy, and such they do not require password rotation or strong password requirements. All these are accepted in the name of productivity and making it easier for their employees to do jobs. The one that this review finds inadequate is lacking a password policy. That's something that is not such a hinder to productivity that we think it should be accepted. Let's now take a look at what the company is doing to mitigate risk. The company has put in place firewalls and intrusion detection systems to help protect the confidentiality and integrity of their data from attackers. Beginning this year, they've also set up a regular penetration testing protocol so that gaps in the existing firewalls and intrusion detection systems might be detected and remediated. Additionally, to ensure the availability of their data, the company has in place both a disaster recovery plan and business continuity plan to ensure that they can restore services to their customers in the event of an attack or natural disaster. Wrapping up the risk assessment portion of this review, let's last talk about a risk that we feel the company has unnecessarily rejected, and that is failure to have a change management policy in place. Change management policies help prevent code with defects or code that might not meet requirements from loading to production. It is the opinion of this review that the company should either A, put a change management policy in place and mitigate such a risk, or B, at least acknowledge it as an accepted risk, that they don't want the overhead of implementing a formal change management process.